Those of you that have been watching my channel for a while probably recognize this. It is my 1989 Ford Ranger. Single cab, long bed, 4-wheel drive, manual, 4-cylinder. I've had this thing for about 3 years and it's gotten pretty minimal use just because I've never really trusted it to go all that far. Since you last saw it, I've done a lot of stuff to it though. I swapped out the leaky 17-gallon fuel tank for a 20-gallon from a newer 90 to 93 Ford Ranger, which does fit despite everything the internet says. This actually made the truck run a lot better, so I set my sights on the more superfluous stuff, like when Grimes sent me an ad for a rooftop tent for sale on Marketplace, so I decided to drive an hour away to go pick it up. Well, you saw the result of that on John Ross's channel. I broke down about a half hour away from town. That turned out to be a faulty coolant temp sensor, so we got that swapped out and the truck was at least driving again. At this point, I was starting to get to where I could actually trust this thing to go places, and on the first of every year, I typically like to go off-roading, and this year was not going to be any different, but this time I wanted to go out of state. So there were a few things that I wanted to do to the truck to get it to the point where it would make that trip comfortably. And the first thing was dealing with the old crummy radio that this thing had. On a long trip, I want Bluetooth, I want CarPlay, I want my maps. So out came the Rockford Fosgate and in went this power acoustic single-din CarPlay unit that is seemingly taking the world by storm right now. It went in easily enough and it's got all the features that I would want. The only question is if it will continue to be reliable. Beyond this, I wanted some fender flares on the truck and I wanted to get rid of the rust in one fell swoop. The rear wheel arches of this truck were rapidly rotting away, even though the rest of the truck was pretty dang rust-free, especially for one of these. So I bought some fender flares that were actually meant for an XJ Jeep Cherokee because it's the only other vehicle that I could think of that had squared-off wheel arches and parts availability. Nobody makes stuff for these square-body Rangers anymore. There is one company, Bushwhacker, that still makes fender flares for this old truck, but they are $400 a set and pretty fragile. So instead, $90 on Amazon and some cutting to make these XJ flares fit is an absolute bargain, and it meant that I could cut out all of this crispy nonsense. I'd be lying if I said it wasn't nerve-wracking cutting up my truck like this, but it was really gratifying to see all of the rot going away and see myself start cutting into fresh metal, which means that once I rust-proof these bare joints and put some rust converter on the surface rust that still exists, that should stop the rot dead in its tracks. The only way you can stop rust is by cutting out all of it. Even better, I was able to retain the factory splash guards and inner fender liners because these flares have some bits that stick in a little further and they were able to overlap and actually keep the inside of the wheel well fairly splash proof, which should also help rot from reappearing later. All the cheap flares I could find for sale on Amazon were all for 4-door XJ Cherokee, so I did end up with this 2-piece rear flare, which I just bolted together before putting on the truck, which was really no big deal, and the fitment was actually shockingly good. What wasn't shockingly good was my wheel offsets when I was done, so some 1.5" spacers came in to give the truck a nice meaty fitment while still keeping the tires within the confines of the flare, so I wouldn't be flinging mud and water up into the windows or on the mirrors or on the door handles or anything like that. I also had a bit of a hesitation occasionally when cranking the truck, so a new starter solenoid was brought in, and I got that installed real quick to solve that issue. Much better. The last thing to take care of before we left hadn't actually been an issue, but this truck did not have a functional coolant overflow, so I made one real quick, and honestly, I'd call that better than factory. I really don't know what I'm doing, and because I don't yet have a winch on my truck, I definitely needed to have some more experienced friends with me. So my buddy Daniel and his family came along with his really well executed modified XJ Cherokee. It's a late 90s 6-cylinder automatic, and it is modified as about as far as you can possibly go with one of these without cutting into the body panels. It is long arm, it is lockers, it is 32s, it is really cool and extraordinarily capable, which was great because we got lost on our way to getting dinner.
This is not working.
Rip. Thought XJs were like good or something. What the hell? Oh, never mind. It just walked something.
That's still two-wheel drive, just lockers.
Oh, shut up.
Well, Happy New Year's, everyone. We did end up making it to Disney in Oklahoma, not the one in Florida with all the cringe millennials. I've actually been wanting to go off-roading here pretty much my entire childhood, since I grew up going down to my family's place down here on Grand Lake, but I never had a truck to do it, and then I've had a truck to do it for the last 2 years, but I didn't trust it to make it this far. But it did make it this far, and unfortunately my family's place is not available for me to stay in at the moment, so you might recognize this particular shade of blue. There's some YouTuber owns this place or something, I don't know. Also, my friend Daniel in his ambulance camper toter home, which is dope, like a full-size International chassis. Good morning, sunshine! Hi. Yeah, you can actually see the lake a little bit here in the winter. It's really not all that bad though. Nice view. I haven't been here since this place was finished. Well, naturally, the heater decides, or the radiator decides to start leaking, so we're just gonna toss that guy into the, I mean, we're definitely gonna trailer it back at this point, but we're gonna toss that into the toolbox. I'm gonna toss a quart of this into the engine because Ranger, and then we're gonna put some pepper in the cooling system. Aside from providing some much needed flavor to the coolant, which makes it an even tastier snack, don't do that. Apparently it coagulates and it will help slow down the leak so that we can hopefully get some amount of trail time, because damn it, I've been looking forward to this trip for months. I'm gonna need both hands for that. Yep. Here's a cool piece of technology I've never heard of. It's a tire pressure gauge specifically for letting the air out of a tire by decoring the valve stem in place. You screw it on your valve stem like normal, and then this guy goes in. You push it on your valve stem core, take it out. Now, fast deflating. And then, core goes right back into the stem and off it comes. No time at all. Really? Well, we're deciding to just send it. We have the trailer. If it breaks, even if the cooling system goes, I know it can make it a few miles with basically nothing going on, especially in this weather. So we're gonna do some wheeling and see how it goes. If it does okay, we'll try to drive it back. Otherwise, we'll load her up on the trailer. But hopefully, we can get a little bit of wheeling in before bad problem gets worse. Oh, look at that! Trail 125. That looks fun. That buggy. Rock crawling isn't 100% my thing. It seems to be the easiest way to break hard parts, and with my small tires and long wheelbase, the Ranger wasn't really all that suited to it, but it was really satisfying getting it up and over some ledges that looked a lot bigger in person than they do on camera. It is tremendously annoying how much a camera minimizes all of these obstacles. Even with my tires aired down to 12 psi, no lockers, not a lot of breakover, and small tires just really makes this sort of thing difficult. I brought the wrong tool, but I like it. This is another example of probably one of the scariest things I've ever done in a vehicle, looking absolutely pathetic because of the camera. This seemed way tighter than it looks, and it felt like my truck was way too long to even get through here. My truck's about the same length as a four-door Wrangler, but it has a little more overhang in the back. And there were no four-door Wranglers out here. Everything was smaller. I think the truck was a bit big for this, but you can tell by how the tires are kind of slipping around that this was pretty steep. It was pretty scary, but it was also a lot of fun.
I'm not gonna die.
This is a really good example of something I like to call Jake has no idea what he's doing and picks the worst line imaginable as I fully flex the truck out and just diff out two of my wheels.
all it took.
Pretty anticlimactic.
I guess I might as well film while I'm walking back to the truck. First of all, I need to do more cardio. But I think this was a pretty successful trip. The truck broke, we fixed it, it's holding, fingers crossed. I mean, we have a trailer at this point. It's fine if it has issues now. The truck did pretty good at everything except for the rock crawling stuff. That's just where having a manual is a little bit of a detriment. It just makes things harder, which is fine. Harder is more fun when you're off-roading, that's the challenge, but it also means you gotta spend a little more money to get around it with stuff. I could use bigger tires, but I don't think that's really in the cards. Just kind of the wrong platform. If I go larger tires, I have to start doing a lot of crazy stuff to the truck. Solid axle swap mostly. And that's dollars. But I don't know, might be fun to get a set of extra axles and just kind of cut and weld them to make them work. But I hope everyone else is having as fun of a New Year's as I am. And here's to a good 2025.